Good morning. It's Monday, and I am waking up and having coffee. So, welcome to the official Drizzle Land Drizzle Wrestling edition for your lovely, lovely month episode. So, it's been a while since I've been on here to discuss the world of wrestling. So, we're going to talk about the All In show first and foremost. I was really captivated, honestly. I thought that this was one of the best, well organized indie shows that I've ever seen. Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks did a great job with organizational matches, surprises. Chris Jericho even showed up on the show. We had a great battle royale at the beginning of the show. Um, a lot of indie talent kind of showed up and had some pretty decent matches. I thought the NWA Championship match was one of the best matches on the card. Pentagon Jr. versus Kenny Omega, I thought was one of the best matches, honestly, in years. Um, yeah, I was really, 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 really impressed, honestly. And I thought the tag team match at the end of the show by far was one of the best tag team matches that I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Um, and I hear that they're doing a second one. So I say go for it, Cody Rhodes. You've done lots of great stuff on the independent scene. So we'll move on from that because I think that was one of the best, indie pay-per-views of the year so far. Um, to Let's talk about the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view last night for WWE. Um, I was pleasantly surprised again. I thought it was a fairly decent show. I thought that the tag team match on the pre-show was really great. I thought that we had some interesting counters in the match. New Day picks up the win over Rusev Day. Um, but again, I think that Aiden English and Rusev have really shown that they can be a top tag team on SmackDown. I think that they've really improved as a tag team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't give another shot down the road. I know at Super Showdown it's gonna be New Day versus The Bar. But I don't know. I think that SmackDown has really gotten better over the last few weeks with their build up to this pay per view. Um, so we'll move on from that. So I thought that the tag team match with Rollins and Ambrose versus Ziggler and McIntyre, I thought that that was an amazing, amazing match. Lots of great counters again. High class athletes just performing at their top level and just kicking each other's butts basically through the whole entire match. Really putting everything out there. I love the end of the match to make both tag teams look great. Drew McIntyre basically when Seth Rollins had Ziggler in the Falcon's Arrow and was about ready to pin him, and it was countered with the Claymore kick, and he just about knocked Seth Rollins' teeth down his throat. Ziggler falls on the cover, 1, 2, 3, and they're still tag team champions. So that was one of the best matches, honestly, in years, in my opinion, honestly, for on a WWE pay per view. Sorry, I haven't drank my coffee yet. I need to hang on, move and grab my coffee. Not fully awake yet. Um, so then we're gonna move on from that to the Jeff Hardy Randy Orton match, which I thought was one of the better matches on the card. I love the fact that Randy Orton is back to who he used to be, basically, which is the Viper, Vicious. Um, Lots of crazy stuff was going on in the match. I mean, lots of climbing the ropes, diving off of things, hitting people with chairs, steps. Um, and then the whole scene with the screwdriver going through Jeff Hardy's ear, it looked like. That was really wicked. I've honestly never seen anything like that. Um, well, honestly, since the Attitude Era, since they really started, pushing the Attitude Era, back in the day. So I'm glad that they're finally getting back to what they were good at, which is having crazy matches at Hell in a Cell and some of these other pay-per-views. Um, Randy Orton does pick up the win though. Jeff Hardy misses a crazy move. Apparently, it was a frog splash off the top of the cage, which he was swinging back and forth. Randy Orton was on a table, and he just totally missed and botched it, and then went right through the table. And it looks like he had some pretty bad injuries at the end of the match. Um, they said something about Jeff Hardy was coughing up blood. Um, Again, that's just the social media stuff. I'm not really sure if that's necessarily what happened, but it sounds like Jeff might take some time off after the pay-per-view. Um, I thought that was a five-star match, honestly, for a pay-per-view for them. I was very impressed. I thought that it was great for both people involved in the match. Um, so we're gonna move on from that to the chaotic women's match between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, which I thought was a fairly decent match. Um, in fact, I would say that that was one of Becky Lynch's best pay-per-view matches in years, honestly. I love the fact that it was back and forth. There wasn't like any crowd favoritism at all. It was basically both people were being cheered for. I mean, yeah, Charlotte got some boos, but I mean, both of them put an amazing match on. I was very impressed, honestly. I thought it was one of the best women's matches in years. So I commend both of them for that. I think that was a great accomplishment for both of them. Um, in the end, though, Charlotte has a move reversed, and Becky Lynch basically reverses a power slam. And then 1, 2, 3, she's the new women's champion on SmackDown. So I would say that they're probably going to build Becky Lynch versus Charlotte or Carmella or possibly Asuka eventually down the road, in which I think that even if you throw all of them into a match, I think that would be amazing, honestly. Like, book it for, like, Super Showdown, even, possibly, if they want to do that. But they're probably not even going to do anything like that till, like, December. Probably not till, TLC. Um, so we'll move on from that. So, okay. Here's where the show, I think, kind of slows down a little bit. Um, I thought that the AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe match, um, boy, what would I describe that as? Good, but I think it could have been much better, honestly. I thought the end of the match made no sense whatsoever, in my opinion. Um, Now, I'm not saying either competitor didn't do a great job in this match. That's not the issue. It's just the end of the match made no sense whatsoever going forward, because now they're having the same match at Super Showdown. Um, so in 3 weeks, Samoa Joe will get his rematch. Okay, so basically what happened during the match was a lot of reversals. AJ almost tapped out to the submission, and at the end of the match, Samoa Joe's body was on the ground after AJ flipped over and got the 1, 2, 3. But as you can zoom in, AJ was actually tapping. Uh, to the submission hold. So that's where they're gonna have to figure something out on SmackDown to make the rivalry go forward, because it's either AJ tapped out and Samoa Joe is the champion, or AJ still has the championship and Samoa Joe was disqualified. So we're not really sure what happened. Honestly, we're gonna have to figure that out on SmackDown Live. But is it me? But I mean, did it have that old earlier TNA feel to it with Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles? I believe it did, because it was both back and forth. I mean, they've had rivalries obviously in the past in other companies, but I just felt like this just could have been a better match. Honestly, it was too short. I think that I don't know, they need to do something with it going forward. That's all I'm saying. Um, so we'll move on from that to the Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey. I thought it was a very physical match. I like the fact that, again, Natalya and Mickie James got involved in the match. I think that they're going to eventually probably have a match at Revolution, honestly, against one another. That's what I'm thinking. But yes, Ronda Rousey actually showed a lot of capability of being a strong wrestler now. She knows how to wrestle. She's not just an MMA fighter now. So I think it's good for her going forward, because she showed a lot of stamina to be able to take a lot of punishment from Alexa Bliss in that match. Frankly, there was one point in time where it looked like Alexa Bliss could have won. But obviously that's not what happened. But I think going forward, we're going to see a really good rivalry on Raw. I mean, in the women's division, I think there's going to be a lot of people stepping up. Other than that, I would say it was a decent match. Then we're going to move forward from that to, oh my God. So, The Miz and Maurice versus Bryan and Brie Bella. Okay. I will say decent match, but Maurice looked really bad. And that's not anything against her, because she hasn't competed in a very long time on the pay-per-view. But I have to be honest, during that match, I was not very entertained. I mean, Miz versus Bryan, yes, but when you throw the wives into it, it's kind of like, no, this just doesn't work. Like, why is this even on the card? I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, because people are like, oh, Total Bellas and Miz and Mrs. and your great reality shows and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, yeah, that's fine if they want to be TV stars and stuff, but you have to choose one or the other. I mean, now, trust me, I like Daniel Bryan and I like The Miz. That's not the issue. I mean, even Brie Bella, when she was wrestling with Nikki as a tag team, that wasn't too bad. Maurice, now, again, she's rusty. She hasn't had a whole lot of competition with matches in a few years. Maybe it will get better as time goes on, but I'm hearing that they're going to do another match like at Super Showdown or something. So I don't know. I mean, what is your guys' opinion, honestly, in the comment section below? Like, should have this match even been on the card? My opinion is no. I feel like it was just taking up time when they could have been building another rivalry. Okay, hang on. Coffee. Wakey up. Okay. Now, we're going to get into, frankly, one of the most confusing segments on the pay-per-view, in my opinion. So they're building this Hell in a Cell matchup. So they even got Mick Foley because it's the 20-year anniversary, and he's a special guest referee. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a great match between Strowman and Reigns. We're going to have a lot of crazy stuff, lots of great competition. You know, it's going to be violent. We're going to get back to the old Hell in a Cell pay-per-views. And then I was horribly mistaken because this was a huge clutterfuck. Like, first off, I read online that they have rubber apparently on the new Hell in a Cell match for the cages so that it makes the wrestlers safer apparently during the matches. Um, so that to me was like, okay, then what's the point in having this match? Like, it's kind of like taking somebody bowling and then using like the bumpers to cheat. Like, I don't know. But anyways, as a fan, now I don't care. Like, I thought the commentary during this pay per view was really great, honestly, with adding Renee Young. I know some people are like, why is she on commentary and stuff? And it's like, you know, why not? Like, she's decent, you know. Um, so okay, so the match starts, and right away, Braun Strowman just starts attacking Roman Reigns and just kicking the crap out of him, which honestly I expected because it's Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman automatically just starts basically annihilating Roman Reigns, like beating him up in the corner, throwing him around the ring like a rag doll. Um, Strowman actually hits Reigns in the face with the steel steps. He starts throwing him in basically into the corner and then starts pounding on him. He does a running power slam um, and throws him like through part of the, I guess it was part of a table or something. I believe that's what it was. Um, in this, the match between Reigns and Strowman so far at this point was pretty back and forth. I mean, they were just both beating the hell out of each other. I mean, it was a decent amount of violence at that point in time. It was kind of like, you know, we're getting back to where it needs to be, you know, finally. Um, but then we have interference. Then we have Ziggler and McIntyre coming out, interfering to help Strowman. And then the Shield comes out, Ambrose and Rollins, and then they're fighting outside of the ring, and it's kind of focusing on them instead of what's going on in the actual ring. And I'm like, okay, what is the point in this? Like, are we gonna get back to the main point of the match between both of Strowman and Reigns? And they're like laid out, both of them in the ring, and Mick Foley's checking on them to try to make sure they're okay because they've been beating the hell out of each other. And then all of a sudden, Reigns and basically just starts getting up and trying to, I guess, recuperate. So, and then Strowman and him start fighting again. And then it zooms into basically Rollins and Ambrose trying to set up McIntyre for a powerbomb through the announce table. And then Ziggler gets up and he starts fighting with them. So they're all fighting outside of the ring. Ziggler climbs up the middle of the cage, up to the top of the cage, basically daring Rollins to get up there. Rollins gets up there, so those two are fighting with each other. And then we see Ambrose fighting outside of the ring. And then Ambrose goes up and with a kendo stick, and he tries beating up McIntyre and Ziggler because they're double teaming Rollins on top of the cage. Then the crazy stuff starts happening. So those four are beating the hell out of each other on top of the cage. And then Ambrose is just kicking the crap out of McIntyre and Ziggler, just pounding them with a kendo stick and just kicking the crap out of them. Rollins tries to suplex Ziggler on top of the cage, um, which it's actually reversed. And then you see after that McIntyre is fighting with Seth Rollins. So they're just kicking the crap out of each other. And then something happens where McIntyre gets kicked in the face, and he's out cold basically on top of the cage. And so Ziggler and Rollins are climbing down the cage, fighting with each other outside of the cage. And then they both lose their balance and they crash through the announce tables. So they're both out, totally outside of the ring, like not moving at all. They fell like 10 feet through tables, the announce tables. So McIntyre at this point is like, okay, what the hell just happened? Because he gets up and he climbs down the cage and he realizes what happened, and then yeah. So then Strowman and Reigns are basically up again and they're fighting each other. Reigns hits a spear and smashes Strowman through a table. Reigns tries to go for a pin. Strowman kicks out. So they're fighting back and forth basically after that. And then Strowman, I think, hits some type of a clothesline. So they're both just totally out, basically in the middle of the ring. And Mick Foley's trying to figure out what's going on, so he's checking on them. Then we hear Brock Lesnar's music hit. So Lesnar comes out with Paul Heyman. And Heyman is arguing with the referee outside of the cage. And the referee is basically saying, go back to the locker room, you're not allowed to be out here, blah, blah, blah. And then Lesnar just kicks the front of the cage with, just destroys it with a kick, blasting it. He just rips the front of the cage door off, that was locked, by the way, throws it to the side, gets in the ring, and absolutely destroys Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman, just F5ing both of them. The crowd is chanting Suplex City. So, yeah, Brock Lesnar apparently is back. I thought he left the company. I'm not sure what's going on in this situation. I don't know if they're building towards him to come back at some point in time during TLC in December, or what's going on. But he absolutely kicked both of their asses in like less than 2 minutes. I mean, he just came in there and was like, I'm the Beast. I'm Brock Lesnar and I'm going to kick your asses. And he did that. He basically just kicked both their asses and left. And Strowman is just laid out. Reigns is laid out. And Michael Cole is like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. I've never seen this type of stuff on a WWE pay-per-view. Which I think he's just trying to hype it up. But we haven't, honestly, in a while, though. But Paul Heyman sprays some type of mace or something in Mick Foley's eyes that distracts that whole situation for Lesnar to come in the ring and basically just annihilate Strowman and Reigns, honestly. So it was just a crazy pay-per-view, I thought, for WWE. I thought it was an amazing pay-per-view. It really kept people interested. Interesting situations, I think, for both brands. I think SmackDown and Raw should be interesting from this point on. I'm hearing rumors that Rey Mysterio might be coming back to SmackDown actually to have a rivalry with Randy Orton, or Shinsuke Nakamura. I say either one is fine. I would definitely want to see that. Um, what would I grade the pay per view? I would grade it an 8.5. I thought it was a decent pay per view for the company going forward, and I think that we're going to see some great matches going into December's TLC pay per view. Um, so Super Showdown is in 3 weeks, from Melbourne, Australia. There's like 6 tag team matches, I believe, on the card. Plus, then you have Undertaker versus Triple H for the last time. And then you also have Bobby Lashley and John Cena versus Kevin Owens and Elias, which I think should be a pretty decent match. Um, I think that pay per view is really going to be great, I think, for the company as well going forward. And then Evolution, for the women's division, I think it's going to be a great pay per view as well. We get to see the return of Trish Stratus. A lot of the older female wrestlers are coming back for the pay per view to have matches. I think Nikki Bella's even wrestling. I believe Beth Phoenix, I think, has even been challenged. So we'll get to see some of the older women come back and wrestle, and I think that's great for the company going forward. So I think the company is going to have some great pay-per-views coming up. Matt Hardy has basically officially retired. He's been posting on social media basically saying that, his time as a wrestler is pretty much over with. And he's going to start trying to get it back into other things. Maybe even possibly being a producer on one of the shows. I say go for it, Matt Hardy. You've earned your credibility. And if you can't wrestle anymore, I say figure out other things to do. I've been pretty impressed, honestly, with Ring of Honor as well lately. I think that they've been putting on some decent shows. New Japan has had lots of great shows as well the past few months. Bound for Glory is already sold out. So Impact is getting better. I've been really impressed, honestly, lately with Impact's. They're developing their talent. They're developing their women's division again. It's good that we can get away from the silly stuff and get back to wrestling. And I think that's what we need for Impact right now. Is they're doing their best to get back into the fold, and I think that they're doing a wonderful job right now. So that is basically the wrestling part of it. So we could possibly have Mysterio back in a few weeks. And then what are we going to do? Honestly, Matt Riddle signs his NXT deal. NXT honestly is getting better. They're getting a lot of great talent. Now Pentagon Jr. And a few other indie talents are talking to the WWE, including Phoenix. So we'll have to see as time goes on forward on who is actually going to be coming to the company. But in my opinion, I think Pentagon and Phoenix should probably not go to NXT. I think that they might be better off staying in Impact, or Lucha Underground. So, anyways, I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to do this wrestling video. I haven't done one in a long time. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week. Peace.